bring in Stan Van Gundy, the NBC basketball analyst, and he joins us now. Stan, good morning. How are you?
I'm good, Dan. How are you?
I'm good. But here's my first question. Who quits the Lakers?
Well, I think it sounded to me from the settlement, the fact that he got half of his money, it seems to me that we had a mutual agreement there. And reading between the lines on what I've seen, it probably hinged on the fact that they didn't want to extend his contract for another year, and he didn't want to coach in what he perceived as a lame duck situation, and they agreed to part ways.
So you'd rather take the money and not coach than get the money, coach, and then maybe your team proves itself and you stay on the job, or they can't get rid of you? What would you have done?
I think, Dan, look, I think that coaches, particularly a guy like Mike's not coaching for money. He's not that anybody doesn't want to get paid, but he's made a lot of money. I think what coaches look for in situations is a chance to be effective. And if he feels like he's not being shown support by the front office, they wouldn't extend his contract, which is a pretty clear indication that they're taking a wait-and-see look on this year. That undermines his credibility and authority with his players. He doesn't think he has as good a chance to be effective. Now, I don't know that was Mike's thinking, but I do think that would be the thinking for a lot of coaches.
Do you expect to be contacted by the Lakers?
No.
Do you want to be?
I never want to or don't want to by anybody, quite honestly. I mean, I look at it as if somebody thinks I might be a fit and they talk to me, then we try to figure out if I'm what they want and they're what I want. So I really couldn't answer that either way.
Is the bigger issue, though, that it's the roster itself? Not that the coach going in is going to be saddled with the same kind of situation that D'Antoni had. I don't know when they get better. It's sort of like the Knicks. They may have to take a bullet for another year, and then they start to get better. But if you're looking at both of these job openings now, what's a better job opening, Knicks or Lakers?
Well, to me, that would be a very individual thing. I look at jobs a little bit differently, I think, than even most coaches out there. The roster really is not of much concern to me. I think jobs, probably not just coaching jobs, but that's all I know, but probably jobs in any industry, I think it all comes down to who you're working for and who you're working with. And if you go in somewhere and you're on the same page, you have similar core values, similar philosophy to your front office, to your bosses, then I think that is a really good job, regardless of the roster. You could go in somewhere that has a great roster, but where you're going to be at odds with your front office because you don't agree with the way they do things, that to me is a bad job. So I would say, wherever somebody goes that they feel more aligned, do you feel more aligned with Phil Jackson or do you feel more aligned with Mitch Kupchak and the Buss family? That would determine to me which is a better job.
Okay. Now I'm asking you, which job's more attractive?
I haven't even really thought about that. No, well, but here's the thing I would say, and this is being as honest as I can, Dan. I don't know. I mean, I know who Mitch Kupchak is, obviously. I've said hello to him. I've basically said the same with Phil Jackson. I have an idea of Phil's basketball philosophy, having coached against him and watched his teams. But I don't know either one of them. And I think until you went in and talked to somebody and got an idea of their thinking and what they were looking for, it would be really, really hard to know. Look, I think they're both difficult jobs. I will say that because you're in places where they've had great success in their franchises, where you have impatient fan bases and not a lot of immediate hope for turning things around, as you said. Both of them would take time. So neither one of them are great jobs. Now, is your front office, do they understand that? Are they going to be patient? Do they agree with your vision on how you're going to build things? Do you agree with their vision on how they're going to do the roster? Those are the things you'd have to talk about with somebody.
He's Stan Van Gundy, NBC sports basketball analyst, joining us, Dan Patrick Show. If I handed out the MVP at the end of the playoffs, would I still be handing it out to Kevin Durant if I included regular season and postseason?
Now, are we saying that the playoffs end right now?
Well, we don't know how they're going to end for Kevin Durant.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
Okay.
So if the playoffs ended right now,
Yeah.
no, I think it was close enough between Kevin Durant and LeBron James that if you included the first round of the playoffs, I'd go to LeBron James. But I don't think Oklahoma City's out of this. I think they can win in Memphis. Kevin Durant would probably have a huge hand in that, and they could go home and win. And then he could go on and play great, and it may shift back to him. But if I had to vote today and you could include the playoffs, I'd swing back to LeBron James.
A bigger disappointment if the Thunder bow out or the Pacers bow out opening round?
Well, I think the Pacers, because the Pacers, number one, this has been sort of a 2-month decline. See, to me, I look at the playoffs, Dan, and I say, anybody can have a bad 2 weeks, a bad series. Mm-hmm. And if that's all it is, I wouldn't think anything of it, really. But this is the Pacers, 2 months decline. Now they're playing a team that was, 8 games under 500 in the regular season. If they don't win that, to me, that's a major disappointment. Whereas I look at Oklahoma City and Memphis, those are just two, and I thought this going into the series, those are two evenly matched teams. The difference in the record was because Memphis really struggled without Marc Gasol. But when they had Marc Gasol, they were just as good as Oklahoma City was. And I think when you see 4 straight overtime games, it's proof that these are two evenly matched teams. I don't look at this as Memphis failing. I think Oklahoma City failing. Mm-hmm. I think Memphis is just a very, very good team.
Yeah, tough matchup for them. And the same with Atlanta. These are tough matchups for them. You got to give credit to Atlanta and Memphis. I agree. Before I let you go, at some point we start to say to our superstars, "Where's your championship?" You had Dwight Howard. Dwight Howard got to an NBA Finals with a roster that wasn't exactly Hall of Fame quality. Here's Durant with a better roster. He's been there to win finals, but at what point do we start holding him accountable, sort of the same way we did LeBron James? Do we wait till he's 7 years in? Before we start saying, hey, where are your championships?
Yeah, I think you've got to give him more time. But I think how long we wait on people is generally determined by just how much we like them. Everybody likes Kevin Durant. We like him as a person. We like him as a player. And so we want to give him the benefit of the doubt. Other people, Dwight, a lot of people liked him, but there were a lot of people who didn't like him. They thought he, was too carefree on the court, laughing too much. And so he's a magnet for criticism. The analogy I always made with Dwight, when he would be criticized here in Orlando for the team not going far enough, is I compared it to Kevin Garnett. Kevin Garnett went 12 years in Minnesota and won 2 playoff series, 2 in 12 years. And yet he was considered universally by everybody as a great winner. Even before he went to Boston, he scowled on the floor. He, all the things that people like. He was a great winner. Dwight won far more in Orlando early in his career than Kevin Garnett did. But Kevin Garnett, even before he won a championship, was a great winner, and Dwight wasn't. It's all subjective, and quite honestly, most of it's a lot of BS.
That's good. That's a great answer. Always good to talk to you, Stan. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks, Dan.
Stan Van Gundy, NBC Sports Network, NBC Sports Radio basketball analyst.